It's a dreary day when you have to ban cards in Cube. But if you know me, you know that Cube and ban list are two of my favorite words. So let's get into it. Well, another eye-opening session of Cube has led me to needing to ban some cards along with acquire new cards to join the ranks. I'm always, as you know, pursuing a hard mode that is completely my own. Although there's always going to be some cards that are financially locked, you know, like the Moxen and such. It'd be cool if all of hard mode were my cards as well as regular Cube besides those ones. Hard mode in my Cube is a mode where I take the most OP and complex cards that see play in Cube, and along with, you know, the power where player experience often dictates games more often than just having a good deck and such. So I have that list of cards that we only bust out every now and then. It's like an expansion in a way. And in this go around, there's been a few bannings necessary. After playing with these cards, I banned a lot of the Modern Horizons 3 cards recently to try and get to a power level that was a little more controllable, as well as a format that didn't center around just the same A-list, threats. I feel like I did a good job in the last list, and there were still a few cards that stood out as OP threats and or centerpieces to gameplay that I think could be stripped away, only played when we have the OP cards, and give other cards a little more room to shine in the Cube. So I know I've been teasing you a little bit too much. Let's get to the bans. The first banned card is Agent of Treachery. 5 and 2 blues for a 2/3. When Agent of Treachery enters the battlefield, gain control of target permanent. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 3 or more permanents you don't own, draw 3 cards. It is a human rogue creature. This card, there's a lot to be said. It steals anything in the game, so the play pattern isn't all that enticing beyond the first few times you play it. It is a great threat. The big reason it's going to the ban list is because I recently got a Winota, and it puts it into play for free. Winota puts Agent of Treachery into play for free, I should say. And it is pre-banned for that reason, but still a good 7-drop and interactive in a way. Next up is Arena of Glory. Arena of Glory is a land that enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a mountain, and taps for red. For red, tap and exert Arena of Glory. It adds 2 red. If that mana is spent on a creature spell, it gains haste until end of turn. This card, basically the bottom ability goes mana neutral and can give a creature haste at the cost of this not untapping for the next turn. It's a complex card, and it really just goes to speed up the games in a way that is hard for me to balance around with new cards. So in terms of haste enabling, it's really strong. It's going to stay around in hard mode, but it doesn't need to be in the base Cube. Next is Abhorrent Oculus. Abhorrent Oculus is a 2 and a blue for a creature that's an eye. And as an additional cost to cast this spell, exile 6 cards from your graveyard. It has flying and is a 5/5. It has the ability, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, manifest dread. This one is both complex and incredibly strong. It has a low casting cost beyond getting cards in your graveyard, and the ability for it to get in for 5 with flying and still put up blockers every turn is really nasty. It's also kind of in on a technicality. This is a single-sided cube, and the fact that it makes upside down cards is, you could say, technically not single-sided. Overall, the fact that it's text box doesn't even explain what Manifest Dread is, makes it super complex, and already being one of the best creatures in the cube, I think it deserves to be banned. Next is Chandra, Torch of Defiance. It's 2 and 2 reds for a legendary planeswalker with 4 loyalty. With +1, exile the top card of your library. You may cast that card. If you don't, Chandra deals 2 damage to each opponent. +1 to add 2 red. -3, Chandra, Torch of Defiance deals 4 damage to target creature. And -7, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to any target. I think this is probably the weakest card that's going on the ban list this session. It adds mana and draws cards and removes creatures and eventually wins the game. So overall, I think it would have been probably the strongest card in the cube after this round of bans. Therefore, I think it deserves a spot on the ban list. Next is Crabomination. 4 and 2 blacks for a 5/5 with Emerge from Artifact for 5 and 2 blacks. You can cast a spell by sacrificing an artifact and paying the Emerge cost, reduced by that artifact's mana cost. It's a crab demon creature that when it enters the battlefield, target opponent exiles the top card of their library, a card at random from their graveyard, and a card at random from their hand. You may cast a spell from among cards exiled this way without paying its mana cost. This is a Modern Horizons 3 card that really went over the top in strength. You could just get this card onto the battlefield as fast as possible and win the game from it. Often you did. Sometimes you didn't. If you didn't and you went all in, you lost. But in a lot of games, you would just curve out. You wouldn't even be all in on this. You would play it, and it would just be the best threat that you could possibly curve out into, as well as just winning games. It was a little oppressive. And after I peeled back some of the Modern Horizon 3 cards, it kind of reared its ugly head, and it goes on with its friends. Next is Cryptic Coat. 2 and a blue for an artifact equipment. When Cryptic Coat enters the battlefield, cloak the top card of your library, then attach Cryptic Coat to it. To cloak a card, put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature with Ward 2. Turn it face up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature card. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked. And for 1 of the blue, you can return Cryptic Coat to its owner's hand. Functionally, it means you can return it, play it out again, cloak something again from the top of your deck as a guy, and kind of be an endless 2/2 in a way. 3/2 with its extra stat boost even. This card, again, similarly to Abhorrent Oculus, was super powerful and really only on a technicality by putting things into the game that aren't single-sided, caring about the backside of the card. Even though it wasn't necessarily the same backside, but part of the complexity of this card was that it did explain what Cloak did, but then Cloak references another ability, Ward, and it doesn't explain what Ward does. So there's just a lot going on with this card, and it's really powerful, and for those reasons, it is going into hard mode. Next is Displacer Kitten. For 3 and a blue, you get a 2/2 cat beast creature with avoidance. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. This is just the most powerful blinker, well, maybe second to Felia. Also a hard mode card. Fact is that it just synergizes with most things in the cube, and really at the deck building restriction of putting good cards like Ponder and Preordain into your blue deck. So it was just a little too strong as a game-ending threat. You'd end up, drawing a new hand and getting every other possible ETB that you would want. It's a little ridiculous. So it's going to hard mode. Next is Embercleave. 4 and 2 reds for a legendary artifact that's an equipment. It has flash. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control. When Embercleave enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike and trample. It also has equip for 3. This card was ending games way too quickly, similarly to Arena of Glory. Just out of the blue, ending the game, or just being also tutorable by Stoneforge and Cloud now. Kind of bumped the consistency that you would see this card. That hadn't really been explored since Cloud had been put into the cube, although it was definitely explored with Stoneforge Mystic. Now the fact that there's two of them, and this card just ends game in mono red really quickly and without that much you can do about it. You know, you can only cast instants into this thing. You know, it is a blowout when you do cast an instant into this thing and it kills the guy that it's supposed to be equipping. But overall, I think reducing mono red's consistency to kill you out of nowhere on turn 4, really just putting it onto 4 mana plays with the double striking human and the dwarf that adds 2 damage, probably keeps mono red in a place where you want it to be. 4 mana plays are important, not just cast, win. Next is Emperor of Bones. For 1 and a black, you get a 2/2 skeleton noble creature. At the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. 1 and a black. Adapt 2. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Emperor of Bones, put a creature card exiled with Emperor of Bones on the battlefield under your control with a finality counter on it. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So this is another super complex, high power level card, similar to Abhorrent Oculus, Cryptic Coat, that should exist in hard mode. Probably doesn't need to exist in regular mode. The fact that Adapt doesn't explain what it does on its text box, because there's too much other text, tells a lot. It's really strong and will continue to be strong in hard mode, but I think leaving it there, not needing to explain Adapt every time it gets opened, and he's just kind of hard to understand in general, while being super strong, puts him in hard mode. Just another Modern Horizons 3 card that deserves to be there. Next is Heliod Suncrowned. For 2 and a white, you get a 5/5 legendary enchantment creature that's a god. It's indestructible. It has, as long as your devotion to white is less than 5, Heliod isn't a creature. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. 1 and a white. Another target creature gains lifelink until end of turn. This card, I fail to judge call on. And the fact that Devotion isn't explained what it does, and he just becomes a creature in a weird way that is confusing, and he contributes to the fastest 2-card instant win combo in the cube, just puts him in hard mode. Next is Narset, Parter of Veils. For 1 and 2 blues, you get a legendary planeswalker that's Narset. It has 5 loyalty, and the static ability, each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. For -2 loyalty, you can look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put it onto your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So Narset is a fine card power level wise, but I took Echo of Eons out of hard mode because I wanted to support Storm a little more. And in doing so, I just think that Narset needs to be in hard mode. No one wants to get Narset echoed. Unless you're playing hard mode where stuff like that happens. The next ban is a controversial one, and it's Omnath, Locus of Creation. For red, green, white, and blue, you get a 4/4 legendary creature that's an elemental. When Omnath, Locus of Creation enters the battlefield, draw a card. It has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life if it's the first time this ability is resolved this turn. If it's the second time, add red, green, white, and blue to your mana pool. If it's the third time, Omnath deals 4 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. Overall, this card was just way too powerful. It would come down and draw you a card, and if you had any blink ability, continue to do so. It was good with all of the colors, and often it was so easily splashed that it would just come down, draw cards, make mana, and just gain life every single turn. It was way too strong, and I think that putting it into hard mode is going to leave us still with fun Magic to be played. Not that Omnath isn't super fun. Everyone loves the card, but it's ridiculous and needs to be in hard mode to let the rest of the game breathe. Overall, it would just go in every single deck by way of being 3-color already and splashing the Omnath, and would dominate games whenever it hit the board. Next is Ragavan, Nimble, Pilferer. For red, you get a 2/1 legendary creature. That's a monkey pirate. Whenever Ragavan, Nimble, Pilferer deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token, and exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card. Dash, 1 in a red. You may cast a spell for its dash cost. If you do, it gains haste, and it's returned from the battlefield to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Ragavan is incredibly strong, and overall is just one of those Modern Horizons cards that needs to be on the A list in hard mode with the rest of its buddies. It is obviously good in any red deck, and there's just other cards that it could be in the cube, but we're still going to play it in hard mode. Next up is Show and Tell. For 2 and a blue, it's a sorcery. Each player may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land card from their hand onto the battlefield. This card just cheats things into play and is too cheap. It's just a little too strong for what I'm aiming for. After a little more thought, it is definitely necessary to ban Swords to Plowshares. Swords to Plowshares is a 1-mana white instant that you can cast for a single white mana. It has the text, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. This card was just too brutally efficient. It would often be cast on the turn where you cast a talisman and held up 1 mana, and then could deal with their threat, and then also play your 4-drop curving out perfectly. So that was the success case, but the fail case being that you're playing against aggro and you have a 1 mana instant that efficiently deals with their creature while you can continue to play your game. It allowed pretty much any white deck to act as a control deck in any matchup against an aggro deck, and that wasn't healthy, so Swords to Plowshares is going to hit the ban list. Next up is Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. For 3, a white and a blue, you get a 4 loyalty legendary planeswalker that's Teferi. It has the abilities +1, draw a card. At the beginning of the next end step, untap up to 2 lands. -3, put target non-land permanent into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. And -8, you get an emblem with whenever you draw a card, exile target permanent an opponent controls. This was just too strong. In similar vein to Omnath and Chandra that also got hit on this list, it would come down, draw you cards, and create mana, and act as removal, and it would just take over games in ways that wasn't really healthy for the format and was kind of making a lot of the decks circulate around Teferi when it would get opened in the packs. So for that reason, it's going to hit hard mode, and it will continue to be a good contender in that format for sure. Next card on the list is Grist, the Hunger Tide. For 1, a black and a green, you get a 3 loyalty legendary planeswalker that's Grist. It has the static ability, as long as Grist the Hunger Tide isn't on the battlefield, it's a 1/1 insect creature in addition to its other types. For +1, you can create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token, then mill a card. If an insect card was milled this way, put a loyalty counter on Grist and repeat this process. For -2, you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker. And for -5, each opponent loses life equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Grist is hitting the ban list for a similar reason that Oko does, in that it is a 3-mana green planeswalker, which means that its highest success case is when you cast a 1-mana green accelerant and play this on turn 2 on the play. There's very little counterplay in the format without the free counter spells, which is hard mode, so there's not much to be done when that happens. You're just going to get buried in 1/1s. Any creature you try to play to threaten it is going to get traded for this 1/1s by Grist's ability, so it was a little too strong and centering and forcing people to splash for it. The fail case being that it's just a inefficient removal spell. meant that it was still incredibly playable, even in that rate, because inefficient removal is still removal in Cube, in Limited. So it's going to hit the ban list along with all these other cards. The last cards I'm banning are the Splinter Twin combo. Splinter Twin is an enchantment for 2 and 2 reds. You enchant creature. Enchanted creature gains tap to create a token that's a copy of this creature. That token gains haste until end of turn, and sacrifice that token at the end of the turn. This is a combo that goes infinite with any creature that then untaps the original. So if you have a creature that untaps something, you make a token copy of it. Guess what? You untap the original token that created a copy, leaving you in the same position with 1 extra token copy with haste. You repeat it infinitely. This combo works with Kiki-Jiki as well, which is also hitting the ban list. Honestly, this is hitting the ban list because Deceiver Exarch and Pestermite are just cards that exist to combo. They have no other true synergistic value with the cube. It is a very fun and historic combo of Magic, so it's going to stick around in hard mode. I just love the cards too much. But for now, Splinter Twin to hard mode. Last up is Ugin, Eye of the Storms. For 7 mana, you get a legendary planeswalker that's Ugin. It has 7 loyalty. When you cast a spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. Plus 2 loyalty, you gain 3 life and draw a card. 0 loyalty, you add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. For minus 11 loyalty, you search the library for any number of colorless non-land cards, exile them, then shuffle. Until end of turn, you may cast those cards without paying their mana costs. Similarly to Chandra and Omnath, it drew cards, made mana, and threatened to end the game, just by virtue of sitting around and play. But it also gave you the upside of like casting this and then casting a 0-drop and getting an extra banish off of it. And it would just usually end the game. You know, a 7-mana card should end the game, so on and so forth. But like, it was a little too powerful. And is going to be in hard mode where it belongs. I think this round of bans is going to put the format in a good place, speed-wise. Hopefully give aggro a little more room to exist by taking away life gains, big hitters, Omnath and Heliod, along with some amount of combo potential removed from the cube. I think that aggro is hopefully going to be in a better place. The removal is still so strong. I think that hard mode has something like 25-ish proxied cards left, which is sick, and I'm really proud of that. And I look forward to cubing with each and every one of you in the future.